And so there are a couple of areas, like I mentioned, that it's not only this area from Fayette and Bond County, but it's another one to the south. There are a couple of these that are starting to interact with, as this cold front moves through, just a little bit more favorable conditions than we have seen for this potential for at least a little bit of rotation. So while this is a severe thunderstorm warning in place right now until about 6:15, for Salem, this is Clinton and Marion. Those are the areas that we just want to watch for that potential for at least rotation, as that's something that's started to get a little bit stronger. But still, like I mentioned, we'll watch the radar scans here over the last 15 minutes or so, and this is an area where the velocity product is showing us that we have this tight area of rotation, specifically from right across Highway 51. This is about ready to work its way across here, and you know, this is the area that we're going to watch for specifically, at least for that potential for rotation here. Let's see, as we continue to work our way just south side of Kaskaskia, Augsburg, Wilburton, I want to put this into motion. You can see that at least the potential for rotation is there, as we have a tornado warning from Fayette and Marion from the National Weather Service here until, like I mentioned, 6 o'clock, 6:15. We also see a couple of these other areas to the south that are not out of the question that we may see a little bit more rotation, up to quarter-sized hail. But it's still, if you are specifically in this area, like I mentioned, this is the area that we want you to stay in your safe place here from Fayette and Marion. And trust me, I can't be more sympathetic about you wanting to watch golf in a playoff. This person who loves to watch golf, I just got 3 messages telling me to put golf back on. I want to watch the playoff. But here's the deal. We've got a tornado warning in place, and these are areas that are in our viewing area. And I know there's a lot of spots where it's sunny and the front has moved through, but Fayette and Marion County are simply not that's not the case. And we have the potential for 2 areas of rotation from not only Fayette and Marion County, but also this area to the south. 6:15 for Clinton and Marion. So there are 2 areas that we're going to highlight for the potential for rotation and the possibility of a tornado. So that's what we're going to monitor. So I know there's a lot of stuff going on, but it's right now right on the south side of town, south on 51. This is right on Fayette Road, and this is the area that we have the possibility for a rotating storm. And as I zoom in, where this is specifically happening, it's right over the intersection of Highway 51 and Fayette Road. So the areas that I would watch out for, and you know, if just downstream in Long Grove, you know, even on Highway 57 north of Kinmundy, I think at this point, the way that this storm is tracking over the last 45 minutes, the way that this storm is tracking, I think it stays north of Kinmundy. If there are 2 spots that I would look at for where I'd like you to be in your safe space, just out of a precaution, definitely would be Wilburton, Lone Grove, and north of Kinmundy. So it's right about here as we continue to monitor this. And this is not going to show a ton of cities because there are some unpopulated areas between there. But like I mentioned, it is still an area that we want to focus on for the potential for a tornado. This is on Fayette Road. This is from Long Grove, south of Wilburton. And these are the areas that we're monitoring for the potential for rotation as we see that possibility for, you know, at least the possibility for rotation here. We have even greater than 1-inch hail now in some of those. So, like I mentioned, we have a tornado warning for Fayette and Marion County. And trust me, as I'm getting yelled at from people online, it's okay. I love golf, and I love to watch Denny McCarthy see if he can make 8 birdies in a row. But we're not going to do that because there's a tornado warning until 6 o'clock for Fayette and Marion County. And these are important areas in our viewing area. There's 2 rotating storms, one of them that there is a tornado warning until 6 o'clock, and that's what we're going to monitor because this is somewhere where I really want you to pay attention because the potential for a tornado warning. So we're going to continue to watch that. The positive is we've got Eric, our director Eric, he's dialed it in to where I'm going to be able to monitor the fact that we got this tornado. You're also going to be able to, in those sunny areas behind you, because like I mentioned, you could see behind everywhere in St. Louis, Breeze, Greenville, we're in pretty good shape now. But it's this area specifically that we have 2 areas we're monitoring for the potential for a tornado. So you can watch that, and you can also look at this specific area south on 51 and Fayette Road. And right now, It is crossing County Road 700 just north, and it's, once again, toward and away from the radar here that we're looking at the potential for rotating storms. This is away from the radar, this is toward the radar, and this storm continues to work its way off to the northeast at about 35 miles an hour. So this is, if you're in Lone Grove right now, that's a spot that I would at least like you to go to your safe place. I think right now, as we continue to monitor not only areas with the National Weather Service here and in our emergency management partners, we're going to continue to at least keep a close eye on things that are going on at the moment. But like I mentioned, we still have this tornado warning in place for Fayette and Bond County south of Augsburg right now. And it's this, at least, potential for rotation. We have a tornado warning in place, so we're going to be on with you here until 6 o'clock. And we also have an area to the south that also may be a rotating storm as well. And that's a severe thunderstorm warning for those areas until 6:15. There's a possibility that a tornado's there, but like I mentioned, the actual tornado warning that we have in place right now continues to stay for us is south of Kaskaskia. Right now, you'll see that from Augsburg, Wilburton, at least the area that is the most likely to be rotating right here. This is away from the radar. This is toward the radar. And as I zoom in, you can see street level. This is County Road 700. This will continue to work its way toward Wilburton. And like I mentioned, it is right about here. That's the storm that we're tracking this direction. And like I mentioned, there are going to be some unpopulated areas, but we've dialed it up to where you can watch the golf in one corner of the screen, and I can keep these folks safe here through 6 o'clock. So I know trust me, I can hear all the messages that are going through my phone right now, and it doesn't matter. We're going to keep doing the same thing because we're going to keep our friends here in Bond and Fayette County safe because there's a tornado warning right now for the potential for a tornado. And as we monitor that, that's what we're going to keep a close eye on the rest of the night. So these are radar indicated tornadoes with upwards of 1 inch hail. And as I just flip the radar back on, you can see that just a little bit. It would be this area south, and it's showing up a little bit better on radar than perhaps earlier. And I want you to see right about here. That's where we're starting to see maybe, at least maybe the possibility that this is the back edge right here. And that's where you can start to see maybe some rotation as we see that possibility. The leading edge of it near Leicester, that's where the hail's coming in ahead of that first. And then right there where you see just the green and kind of not necessarily raining a lot, that's where we're looking at the possibility of that tornado is. As I flip this different product on, you can really see that here. And I'll kind of line that up a little bit better as it's switching back and forth to the Springfield radar. But watch this now specifically, and as I switch this back and forth, you'll see that that's the area of rotation for this tornado warning in place from Fayette and Marion County until 6 o'clock. Big picture shows, like I'll continue to pop in and out a couple of times here. If you're anywhere over here, not only is your severe threat over, but you're probably watching this golf playoff like I was. I got it. I love it. Denny McCarthy's fired up. Akshay Bhatia playing very well. Could be his first big win. But we're focused on the areas right now in Bond and Fayette County until 6 o'clock. So I'm going to stay with you until 6 o'clock. So let's just hope this playoff keeps going, and then we don't have to worry about it, and then hope everybody's safe. But at this moment right now, we've got a tornado warning until 6 o'clock. So that's what we're going to deal with. It's our obligation to keep these folks safe, and we're going to do so. But at this moment right now, it is right now this little specific area just near Augsburg right now. In fact, it's right over Augsburg, and that's what I want to look at here. And it's this area right here from Augsburg, County Road 1100. This has moved through, especially on the east side of town now, and it has moved. If you're on the west side of Highway 51, I think you're in pretty good shape right now. But as this area that's rotating, and as I put this into motion just over the last 15 minutes, you can really see what I'm talking about. I know it's radar indicated rotation, but this is something that has taken more of a northeasterly turn here over the next few minutes. And so that's what we're going to still look at here as we look at some of our possibilities from the National Weather Service. So there are a couple of different areas of rotation that we continue to monitor here at 5:35. There's 25 more minutes of this severe thunderstorm warning, or this severe thunderstorm warning at 6:15, and this tornado warning. You can watch how this is starting to turn just a little bit as it has moved fully south of Vandalia, but it is Wilburton, it's Confidence, it's St. James, it's north of Lone Grove. These are the areas that I'd like you to stay inside your safe place here at this moment, simply because we have that potential for a tornado right now. And while this has not been confirmed, we don't have visuals on it, the radar is indicating that we have rotation by the away wind and the toward wind. As we have that twisting, that's where we have the possibility for a tornado right now. And you can see that here as I flip this back on. That's your tornado warning in place for Fayette and Bond County until 6 o'clock right now. And you'll see that that polygon has trimmed and moved away specifically, and it's out of Vandalia. It's moved away from 51. So that's the area. This stays out of Kinmundy as well, but still areas in Laclede, Long Grove, as I mentioned, we still have to deal with this. And I understand that this is at a bad time, because for a while this golf tournament wasn't all that interesting. Denny McCarthy got fired up. But we have a radar indicated tornado that we have to keep folks in Wilburton, we have confidence safe, and this is part of our area. So I understand that it's completely sunny, but Director Eric and the rest of our team has been kind enough to get this boxed up to where you can watch it on one side. You can also stream it as 2024, but we want to keep you posted here right now. There are a couple of other areas to the south that I mentioned that have the possibility. They're showing the same characteristics south on Highway 51 from that away and toward radar wind directions. So those are the areas that we may see additional tornado warnings. It's not out of the question based on what's going on, but that severe thunderstorm warning in place, over 1-inch hail, and the possibility that we may start to see some of that rotation. So that's what we're going to continue to at least monitor here ahead as we watch the possibility for some of this rotation on the leading edge of things. At this moment right now, this is our lone tornado warning, and this is our area right now from Fayette and Marion County until 6 o'clock. It's this area, toward the radar, away from the radar. That wind direction is indicating some spinning, and that's why the National Weather Service has indicated that tornado warning. So right now, from Wilburton, from Confidence, from Long Grove, that's what we're watched for. And I know when I pull a lot of this up for the next 35 minutes, for the next 25 minutes, this is not showing a lot as far as tracking, but still, Wilburton at 537. This is probably a spot where I'd like you to be in your safe spot at this moment. The sirens are likely going off, and if you're tuning into us, we just want to keep you posted about some of this stuff, because I know that there are some unpopulated areas that this may be going over, and a majority of you are catching into the golf. I get it, but we have the possibility for a tornado and a couple of different areas that are also not out of the question. You can really see that specifically, once again, as I mentioned, right about here. We have the leading edge in Wilburton, where we have some larger hail, some very heavy rain that's starting to pick up, and the back edge of that, that's where we're starting to see that wind in that different direction. That's where that twisting is starting to come from, and we see that spin that's indicated by the radar. And while we continue to monitor things with our, right now our National Weather Service partners, that's where we're going to keep you posted with some of our emergency managers there as well. But right now, this, at the moment, a tornado warning for Fayette and Marion County until 6 o'clock. As we watch this area from Lone Grove, this is the one spot until 6 o'clock that we have to monitor the potential for this tornado that is radar indicated at this moment, but still has, at least over the last scan, shown that it is maybe weakening just a little bit. You don't see those bright colors like we had indicated at one point, but still, this is a spot from south of Confidence, south of St. James, that we still see that possibility for tornado warning through 6 o'clock. There are other areas to the south, right now south of Leicester, north of 57, that we still see that possibility. North of 57, you'll see that away from the radar, toward the radar. That's that twisting. I think there's some additional spots right now. That's what we're going to continue to monitor, the fact that we have this. And like I mentioned, if you're in St. Louis, you're watching the playoff in the triple box, I get it. I understand it. I don't want to watch golf too. There's one thing. I'm not going to ruin it for you, but I can see who won, because Eric was kind enough to get the triple box in so you can watch the end of it. I know you can't get it on the full screen, but we have to take care of those people that are in Illinois, part of the Metro East, working our way in Central Illinois, that are involved in that tornado warning. So that's what we're going to do. If you want to, I love watching golf, trust me, and I know I'm getting 1,000 messages on my phone. It's okay. We're going to keep you posted here, because I still think there's a distinct possibility that this is a tornado here, as we have this tornado warning that's still in place now through 6 o'clock. And so that's where we're going to continue to stay with you here. You see that specific spin. And like I mentioned, it's still the possibility as it works its way almost out of our viewing area completely. And until then, that's when we'll exit, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about what's going on. But it's this area north of Wilburton, right now near Confidence, near St. James. If I put a track on this, the leading edge of this, which may be a little bit behind, I think you have about 5 minutes to get to your safe place here in St. James. This is a radar-indicated tornado as we continue to monitor what's going on right now. We still have a couple of areas in Fayette County that have that rotation. That's to the south as well. Like I mentioned, even in Kinmundy, I wouldn't hurt my feelings if you were just getting in your safe place at this moment anyway. I know that this is just a severe thunderstorm warning right now, but there are 2 areas that we'll monitor. You'll watch one side goes here, one side goes here. Those are areas that are showing that radar indicated twisting, that the potential for a tornado is there. So that's what we want to monitor here, as we have an active tornado warning right now for Fayette and Marion County until 6 o'clock. We have multiple other severe thunderstorm warnings to the south in place. We're not going to blow up programming for that. We would keep you posted, and I'd jump back in for you to enjoy the rest of the playoff. I get it, but it's the tornado warning for places in our area, Fayette and Bond County, and the possibility that this is a tornado is not out of the question. I know this is radar indicated at this moment. We continue to have an update on this, but still through 6 o'clock, it's this area right near north of Lone Grove, right across Highway 185. The back edge of this is at least indicating that there is some rotation with this. Even as we put this product on, you can see that specifically. There are 2 areas that I think that really are going to be impacted, but at this moment, it's the tornado warning for Fayette and Marion is for this one right here. I'll let you look at this here, and I'll loop this for the last 15 minutes. You can really see what I mean, because while it is not as bright, that's the area that was tornado warned for. I am looking ahead to the south here. This is right north of 57, and it's this area that I don't think it's out of the question that could prompt something else, something similar that would be down the road a little bit longer. So that's why I'd like, if you're in Kinmundy, just to go ahead and get to your safe space anyway, because we have that tornado warning that's in place. And you can see that over the last 15 minutes, the rotation has probably started to take shape a little bit more as we look at right now what that may indicate. Like I said, this tornado warning that's going on right now south of St. James until 6 o'clock, I don't know that it makes it to 6 o'clock, or at least stays in our area through 6 o'clock at its current pace, but it's not out of the question that this storm near Kinmundy with some hail on the leading edge of it also showing that similar sign. Because if you look at it to the north where we have the, let's look at this back edge here where it's just showing green, it doesn't look as impressive, right? Near Wilburton, you see where it doesn't look all that impressive. Well, that's kind of an inflow of wind that I think is showing a little bit more rotation. You also see that here as we look to the south in Kinmundy, and it's just right about here. It's near Leicester. You can see just right about here. And watch as I loop this for the last 30 minutes, you can see that perhaps there's a little bit of rotation here as well near Kinmundy, Meacham, north of 57, and that's at least what we're going to watch out for. Right now, still in place at this moment, a tornado warning is in place from Fayette and Marion counties until 6 o'clock. So still at this moment, while the possibility that this is weakening, there still are several signs as we look at some of the reports from Salem on the Illinois side. They're actually seeing the possibility that this storm right here may also start having some at least low-hanging clouds and some rotation with it as well. So there's a lot of this going on right now in the Metro East. As we regroup, the one tornado warning right now for Fayette and Marion County until 6 o'clock. We have 16 minutes left of that. I don't think that this storm hangs on for that long. I think it moves out of our area. But I think it's very possible that as one tornado warning expires, we have to watch out for a couple of more of these severe thunderstorm warnings that still may produce a tornado just because of the weak rotation that they're showing. And I'll loop this whole thing so you can see what's going on in the last 15 minutes and how we even got here at this point, because as I continue to listen to my watch go off and on, even though the golf is over, and you can see a beautiful view of the arch, what I can tell you is that we have to make sure that they are safe. These people are safe, everybody, Just because we have that tornado warning in place, I got to cover up the golf playoff. I know, I understand. You're talking to the #1 golf. I'd rather be on the golf. I'd rather watch golf, but we've got to focus on this right now because there are a couple of areas of rotation that could very well be tornadoes. And that was the first one, was for Fayette and Bond County. And you can see that near Confidence. And the real positive sign that I'm seeing is that the colors are not as bright. I don't think the rotation is as tight. So that may be an area that's allowed to expire very soon. I can get away from you. But I think that there's a couple of more spots near Kinmundy, and you can see them here. Kinmundy north of 57, and then this one here. Those are areas that we have to watch for the potential for rotation. And looking at some of our from our emergency management partners, you can really start to see them specifically. And they're doing a great job of communicating what they see on the ground to the National Weather Service and to us so that we can say, okay, well, we're seeing this on radar and you're seeing this on the ground. That does look like it's the possibility of a tornado. Then they're going to send a tornado warning, or they're not going to do it. And so as we continue to monitor this area right across 185, it's north of Confidence, I think that there's probably still some rotation here, but despite with this tornado warning, I think this is starting to wind down a little bit. Not only is it winding down, it's getting out of our area, right? So for the next 13 minutes, we still have that tornado warning in place as we continue to see what's going on. You know, and as we look outside, Mark, you know, this is one of those things where we look at the arch, Mark, and I'll tell you what, we had some brief heavy rain, some pea-sized hail. We had a lot of reports of that, but it's just the last 15 minutes, and you know, doesn't always work out that way when it's right in the middle of something, you know.
Yeah, we were planning to have a storm alert right out of the top of our newscast. Yeah. We saw some heavy hail pummeling parts of Kirkwood earlier today too. What kind of damage are you seeing just with the severe weather here, and what indicates what kind of damage we might see in that area that you're monitoring now with that tornado warning?
Yeah, I think right now we're just looking at that these are radar indicated tornadoes, right? So we don't have any ground level things from the emergency managers that are saying, hey, we've got a confirmed tornado, we see things, but it is what they're taking pictures of and showing us, some of the storm spotters, emergency management partners, and just people that are with us. But as we look at what's going on, we see those radar products that are showing us that there's a twisting, and so that's why we have that tornado warning that's in place here. And as we look outside, what's going on earlier today, we had this pea-sized hail. Now that's of course not going to cause damage, but when it gets up to quarter size, that was our first severe thunderstorm warning of the day. But now we're still kind of trending out of this tornado warning that's in place. And I know that once again, I reiterate, if you're still hanging around with us after the golf's over, this tornado warning in place for Fayette and Marion until 6 o'clock. It was for this area right along 185 that we monitored the potential for some rotation. It has really weakened. And to Mark's point, when we look at how does this impact us, or why do we see this tornado warning to begin with, look at this over the last 30 minutes. And you watch how this area was more bright. Watch how it crossed Highway 51. You see that those brighter colors indicating that more tight rotation. You don't see that quite as much. And so I think that's a positive sign for areas, even though this is moving out of our area. And I know a lot of you in St. Louis and on the Missouri side are totally clear of severe weather. You just want to watch golf. I understand that. But we also had the potential for a tornado here. We also have another area that we're monitoring. And if you look at that last one, watch how this recently in Kinmundy, Meacham, that's a spot that I would still look at and say, I'd just rather be in my safe space than not, just because the possibility is there, right? You're still going to get some pretty good thunderstorms, and obviously the rain is starting to pick up in Kinmundy if it hasn't already, but we're starting to see that possibility that you may have upwards of quarter-sized hail, even though this is just a severe thunderstorm warning. But this area is still under that tornado warning until 6 o'clock. So I know this is the next 10 minutes here, but there are still areas that they're at least showing the possibility for rotation here. So once again, we still have that possibility for a tornado in at least Fayette and Bond County until 6 o'clock. So we see this through 6 o'clock, Fayette and Marion County, and then Fayette and Bond County is till 6:15, but that is the severe thunderstorm warning here in place. So once again, as we look ahead, Clinton and Marion till 6:15, you'll see that right now, severe thunderstorm warnings in place, but still the possibility of rotation is there north of Kinmundy, and that's what we're looking at because this is the area to the north on 185 that was the reason for the tornado warning that's in place until 6 o'clock. So as we continue to monitor this threat, most of the areas behind this, and I'll do this really quickly so that you understand, most of the areas behind this we're definitely all in the clear. But for the next 9 minutes, we still have this tornado warning that's in place for this storm. And maybe it's starting to turn into where we look at this storm and it's almost moved through, but you can see it just a little bit here from St. James as we start to see that possibility that there still is a tornado right about here. And it's not as well defined as it once was, but that's the area. And I know this is faint, but still, from the National Weather Service, as long as this tornado warning remains in place and through 6 o'clock, we have to make sure we keep everyone safe here. North of Kinmundy here, you'll see this. This is starting to get maybe just a little more tight in terms of rotation, but as we monitor how this gets almost out of our area, I still think it's Kinmundy, Meacham. Those are the areas that are most likely to be affected by that area of rotation. And then also this one that's starting to cross the interstate near Alma, and still those two specific low-lying areas of rotation still are something that we're monitoring. And that's not why we're cutting in, because it is that tornado warning until 6 o'clock that still remains in place. And as we check into our emergency management partners, I mean, in Salem, the clouds are dropping significantly. And I know that I don't have that picture for you because it's going to be a little harder for me to do that and that at the moment, but we'll get it for you a little bit later on. But the clouds are certainly dropping here in Salem, and that's a little further south. And that's specifically with this storm right here. And I'll tell you what, it's a system that we'll watch for the potential for rotation. And like I mentioned, I'd pop out, I'd pop back in, but it's still this tornado warning that remains in place. And it was probably for this area of rotation in St. James the most, but it's not out of the question that this area of rotation right here north of Kinmundy maybe slides in just on the south side of Illinois 37 here in 650 Avenue. That's something that we'll watch out. So there's a couple of small areas of rotation that we're having to deal with right now. And I still think as we monitor this tornado warning in place still until 6 o'clock. So that's another 7 minutes here as we monitor the possibility for this. The updates from the National Weather Service continue this trend for a tornado warning until 6 o'clock. So those counties in our viewing area, we want to make sure that they're safe. So we're going to stay on with you until 6 o'clock. And then if we need to pop back in and check in with you, then we'll have an update. But at this moment, there still is a tornado warning in place until 6 o'clock. There still is an area to the south, rotation-wise, right about here, that we still see that possibility right about here. And that's north of Kinmundy, near Farina, just south of 57. And I think you're probably running into this on 57. That's an area that's not part of this tornado warning specifically, but it's still an area worth monitoring as there are some low-lying clouds that are really starting to get more significant. But the area that was the result of the tornado warning is now through St. James, and it just doesn't look as strong as it once was. And if you're just joining us, you're flipping it on, or you want to complain to me about me overcutting the golf, this is where we're still seeing that possibility. It started to weaken just a little bit. And as we look at some of these photos, you see this from Tracy in Greenfield earlier. We have these clouds that have moved up to about 20,000 feet. And then as we continue to see that possibility for hail, it's as these storms have started to rotate and enter a more favorable environment than they were perhaps when they moved into St. Louis downtown earlier than we were dealing with, Mark. And you're pretty familiar with this drive. You can probably see this, in central Illinois a little bit more, right? Like, we're going to get some good photos, and I've seen a couple of, but this is for some of these people that are joining us. This is their best way for them to stay safe. They're checking in with us as they're kind of on the edge of our viewing area, but not everybody's dialed into their phone or the radar like this. So
sure, and I want to ask you about how quickly, because I know we came in planning to cover severe weather, and you were tracking some of those storms, but just how quickly and what kind of conditions can it take to really escalate into this more dire circumstance?
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, Mark, because for the most part, storms moved through. We had one round of storms move through St. Louis. It kind of quit, and then the front moved through. And as that front moved through, it entered a spot that had more daytime heating, more favorable ingredients on the Illinois side than perhaps the clouds and rain that we had early kind of hanging around the St. Louis area and on the Missouri side. And that's one of the reasons that we've had that as it started to enter those areas that maybe weren't impacted by rain earlier or clouds as much, and you were in the mid 70s, a little bit more humidity. And as that front entered, we started to see that low level rotation that we still kind of see, but this has almost worked its way out of the area completely. But as we still look at another 4 minutes with no indication that they're necessarily going to knock out of this early, but this is until 6 o'clock. And I don't think it's out of the question that we'll still see. They're looking at updates from the National Weather Service. They're looking at this one. This is kind of what we've been talking about all along, right? That area of rotation starting to weaken. They're probably going to allow that to exit at 6 o'clock. But, you know, that's moving out of our area anyway, so we would ignore it. But they're also looking at some other areas of rotation that we've been mentioning, specifically near Kinmundy, and you can see the brighter colors now. And so while it doesn't mean that a tornado warning is imminent, it's not out of the question that, you know, I may leave you and then you see another one, right? So there's the most recent one that just popped up, that's still at 6 o'clock, right? So it's not out of the question that I may leave you and then come back very shortly, because we see that possibility for rotation. There are several little small areas and low clouds here, as we have near north of Hoyleton, Illinois, where you see these possibilities for some of these clouds that have lowered to the ground and are starting to rotate. And you know as well as I do, Mark, that that drive, you can see a lot for a long way. There's not much in the way. So as we start to see those areas of rotation, it's not out of the question that we're going to get, you know, we can at least prepare people, you know, ways away, especially on 57,
Sure.
You're making that drive south. So
And a lot of folks who were tuning in tonight before this urgent situation might have wondered about where those clouds were going to be tomorrow. You were looking at that for the eclipse south of us. Do we have any idea what that could look like and how that, I mean, the height of the clouds? People are trying to get a read on this before the big eclipse event tomorrow.
yeah, I think the positive thing is that as we watch this storm move through, we're going to see things clear out for a significant portion. But off to our southwest, we're going to see some high clouds that settle in. I don't think that they may impact the total eclipse viewing, but it's still something that we'll look out for tomorrow. I think overall you're going to get a good picture of it. We'd really have to see an area of that cloud cover would start to thicken up. But we also have a look at Salem, and I think this is the storm that I've been mentioning a little bit and seeing pictures of here that have come to me. But those are the storms that are lowering, they're rotating a little bit. We have a lot of spotters out there. So those are the storms in question for the potential for rotation, as you see many areas that have this just minor rotation along with it. So those are the areas that we continue to look at here for the possibility for on the leading edge of these storms that may be rotating. So, you know, still from, I would still look at some of these areas. And while this stays north of Mount Vernon, it's Salem, it's Kinmundy. These areas may at any point turn into a tornado warning at some point. We still have that one tornado warning that's in place until 6 o'clock. And so I think really as we, you know, kind of prepare, where do we go from here at this point? I think it's not out of the question that we're going to get you back to programming here within the next minute or so, unless something changes. So, you know, if Eric, you want to just let them know that we're going to get dialed back in. So that way I know you missed the golf, and I understand that. But areas behind this, we're fine. This tornado warning is going to be expired, and it's moving out of our area anyway. You can see downstream that a severe thunderstorm warning is in place. I still want to look at these areas from Salem, Kinmundy, Centralia. We'll stream with you on 5+, so we can move and you can flip it back, and we'll keep you up to date with the ticker. It's not out of the question that I'm going to see again for some of these areas of rotation. At any point, something could be turning into a tornado warning with one of those little weak, brief circulations strengthening, lowering, and then we get updates. So like I mentioned, here as we come up in the 6 o'clock hour, we'll get you back to what you normally would see here as we have that possibility for a tornado the rest of the evening. I think this trend generally goes away after about 7 or 7:30, but we'll keep you posted on 5+ and on KSDK.com until then.
Nice work.
I don't need